Welcome to DesignerDigitals Bi-Weekly Tip, August 31st, 2018. This week, how to punch out titles with the eraser tool in Photoshop and Photoshop Elements. In Photoshop, there's usually more than one way to get the effect that you want. The trick is just to find a method that feels comfortable to you and then work with that. In this tip, we'll explore two ways to punch out titles from background papers and page elements like mats and photos. We'll be using Katie Petit's Blacked Out Alpha number 1, which is perfectly suited to this technique. Feel free to experiment with other alphabet sets to get the right look for your digital project. In the Blacked Out Alpha product description, Katie states that this set is perfect for using with eraser tool to punch out page titles of papers and elements. And she gives a wonderful example of how interesting this technique looks on a finished page. Here's one from Tracer Majig that is also a really great paper using this technique. Here's how to get that look. Open a digital background paper in Photoshop or Elements. I usually tape the videos in Photoshop, but today I'm going to go ahead and tape in Elements, and then I'll tell you where it's different in Photoshop. Press Ctrl-J or on a Mac system Command-J on the keyboard to make a copy of that background layer. The new layer will be stacked on top of the original background over in the Layers panel. Add a drop shadow to the background copy layer, so that's going to be the top layer. Katie Petit's drop shadow styles are really an easy way to create realistic looking shadows. Choose styles and click the drop shadow of your choice. So in Photoshop, you'll just double click here outside of the layer name and it will pull up the layer styles dialog. In Elements, choose styles and then choose from the drop down menu here to choose the styles. For this technique, I'm going to use Katie's Dramatic Alpha Drop Shadow. And then I'll go back to Layers. And when your drop shadow is added, you'll see that it adds this little FX icon on the right side of the layer so that you'll know that you've added your shadow. Next, open the blacked out alpha letters that you'll need to create your title and get the Move tool to drag the layers into place, creating your title. So just drag them up onto your page and drag them into place. Once your title is created, locate and click to select the top letter layer in the Layers panel. Hold the Shift key and click the bottom letter layer in the Layers panel. And this will select all of the letters in between, but your two papers will not be selected. Press Ctrl-E or on a Mac system Command-E on the keyboard to merge those layers into one layer. Now your title is all on one layer, so you can turn it off or turn it on, but it's just one layer here in the Layers panel. Control-click on a Mac system Command-click the thumbnail of the title layer in the Layers panel. This places a selection around all of your title letters. Next, hide the title layer by clicking on the layer visibility icon, which looks like an eyeball on the left side of the title layer. At this point, you'll see a selection of the letters, but the letters will be invisible. Select the background copy layer. It should be the middle layer. This is a super important step. When people go wrong, this is where it happens. If you forget to select the background copy layer, then this technique won't work as expected. So make sure that you've got this middle layer selected and get the eraser tool with a round brush and then drag the eraser inside the selection, making sure that you cover all of the selected area here. And you'll see that it begins to pop out because of that drop shadow. If you need to increase the size of the brush, just use the right bracket key. And then you can quickly get in here and get everything out of the selection here. Now deselect by pressing Ctrl-D or on a Mac system Command-D on the keyboard. Now I want to show you an alternative method, so I'm going to back up a little bit to where we had made the selection around the letters, selected the middle layer, and then instead of getting the eraser tool, at this point you can just press delete or backspace on your keyboard, and it will remove everything inside that selection. Now deselect by pressing Ctrl D on your keyboard. So that gives you two different ways to erase out the middle of the letters. Your title is now cut out of the background copy, and you'll see the original background peeking through. Get the Move tool and open up some digital papers, and then you can drag one or more pattern papers in between the two layers. So you can drag it between the background and the background copy, and that pattern paper will show up. And then you could drag this up like this and make another selection of paper and drag it down and have two different papers behind your title letters. You can apply the same technique to a photo, mat, tag, or even a journaling block to create an interesting word art effect for your project. Thanks so much for watching this week's video, and be sure to check back in 2 weeks for another Designer Digitals tip.